We need to discuss something important. Your brother needs a kidney. That's what my mother said when she called me for the first time in 3 years. Not, how are you? Not, I'm sorry we missed your wedding. Not, congratulations on your daughter. Just, your brother needs a kidney. And here's the thing. I would have given it, despite everything, despite being called the accident, my entire childhood, despite paying for their vacations while they forgot my birthday, despite being uninvited from Christmas because my presence made Bradley uncomfortable, I would have said yes. But then my father leaned into the phone and said the words that changed everything. Don't get excited. You're not our first choice. You're just the backup in case the real donors fall through. The backup. That's what I'd always been to them. The backup child, the backup wallet, the backup option. So I made a decision that would tear my family apart and finally set me free. Before I tell you what happened when I walked into that hospital room, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not the only one who's ever felt like a stranger in their own family. My name is Serena Mitchell. I'm 36 years old, a pediatric nurse, and a mother to a 4-year-old girl named Rosie. 2 years ago, I made the hardest decision of my life, and the aftermath nearly destroyed everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and love. But it also saved me. Let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in the Mitchell household, I learned early that I was an afterthought. My brother Bradley was born after 3 years of fertility treatments. He was the miracle baby, the answered prayer, the child my parents had desperately wanted. I came along 4 years later, unplanned, unexpected, unwanted. My mother told me once, after too much wine at Thanksgiving, that she cried when she found out she was pregnant with me. We had the perfect family, she said. Bradley was enough. But then you happened. I was 7 years old. Brady got piano lessons, soccer camps, and a car on his 16th birthday. I got hand-me-downs, and the message that I should be grateful I existed at all. When Brady got into law school, my parents threw a party with 80 guests and a live band. When I graduated nursing school, top of my class, my mother sent a text. Congrats, dinner next week? We never had that dinner. Here's what my family never talked about. Bradley's law career wasn't exactly thriving. He passed the bar on his 3rd attempt, joined a small firm, and promptly got fired for attitude problems. Then he started his own practice, which meant my parents started funding his lifestyle. Except they couldn't afford it. My father had retired early due to back problems. My mother worked part-time as a receptionist. Their savings were modest. So Bradley came to me. It's just temporary, he said. 6 years ago, just until the firm takes off. A few thousand here and there. You're a nurse, you make good money, right? I made $52,000 a year, but I said yes, because maybe, I thought, if I helped enough, they'd finally see me as family. The temporary help became permanent. Rent payments for Bradley's downtown apartment, car payments for his BMW, credit card bills from dinners with clients, even his gym membership. My parents joined in. Their roof needed repairs. Mom's medication wasn't covered by insurance. Dad wanted to visit his brother in Florida. I kept a spreadsheet. 6 years of transfers, $187,000. That's what I gave them. Nearly $200,000 while living in a studio apartment, driving a car with 180,000 miles on it, putting off having children because I couldn't afford it. And not once, not a single time, did any of them say thank you. 3 years ago, I met David at a hospital fundraiser. He was a software engineer, kind and steady, with a laugh that made me feel safe. We dated for 8 months, but I called my mother too safe. Scratch me. Fear. That's nice. Listen, Bradley has a big case coming up. He needs help with. I hung up. For the first time in my life, I hung up on my mother. David and I got married at the courthouse with his parents and my best friend as witnesses. We didn't invite my family. They didn't notice. A year later, Rosie was born. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, with her father's eyes and my stubborn chin. I sent a photo to the family group chat. My mother responded 2 days later. Cute. What's her name again? That was the last time I contacted them directly. I stopped the transfers, blocked the requests, let the calls go to voicemail. For 18 months, I lived in peace. Then came the call about Bradley's kidney. It was a Wednesday evening. Rosie was in bed. David was working late. My phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Serena. My mother's voice was tight. We need to talk. How did you get this number? That's not important. Your brother is sick. His kidneys are failing. He needs a transplant. I sat down slowly. Despite everything, the news hit me like a physical blow. Is he okay? What happened? Years of medication and lifestyle, she said vaguely. The doctors say he needs a living donor. Family matches are best. My mind raced. Bradley was sick. Really sick. And despite the years of being treated like nothing, he was still my brother. I could get tested, I said quietly. See if I'm a match. That's when my father's voice cut in. He must have been on speakerphone. Don't get excited. You're not our first choice. You're just the backup in case the real donors fall through. I felt the words like a slap. The real donors? Bradley's college roommate, his law partner, people who actually matter to him. My father's tone was dismissive. We're going through the list. If none of them work out, we'll let you know. I couldn't speak. Also, my mother added, as if remembering something minor, we'll need you to cover his medical expenses. Insurance doesn't cover everything, and we've had to dip into savings. Maybe $50,000 to start? The line was silent. Serena? Did you hear me? Yes, I whispered. I heard you. I hung up. And something inside me, finally, irreversibly, broke. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with David, laying out everything. The years of payments, the constant dismissals, the way they'd called asking for money and a kidney in the same breath, while making clear I was their last resort. David listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took my hand. What do you want to do? I don't know. Tears streamed down my face. He's my brother. He might die. And if you give in your kidney, what changes? I stared at him. Will they finally love you? Will they finally see you as family? The answer was so obvious it hurt. No, I whispered. They never will. David squeezed my hand. Then what do you owe them? That question sat with me for days. I wasn't going to let Bradley die out of spite. That wasn't who I was. But I also wasn't going to be the invisible backup plan anymore. I needed answers, real answers, about why I was always last, always less, always the mistake. So I called the one person who might give them to me, Aunt Helen. Aunt Helen was my father's younger sister, and she'd always been different from the rest of the family. She'd moved to Oregon years ago, distancing herself from what she called the Mitchell dysfunction. We'd stayed in sporadic contact through birthday cards and occasional calls. I was wondering when you'd call, she said when she answered. You know about Bradley? I know a lot of things. She paused. Things you deserve to hear. Can you come visit? This isn't a phone conversation. 2 days later, I was on a plane to Portland. Aunt Helen picked me up at the airport and took me to her small house overlooking the Columbia River. I should have told you this years ago, she said, pouring tea. But I was afraid. Afraid of your father, afraid of being cut off. Told me what? She took a deep breath. When your mother found out she was pregnant with you, your parents had just discovered something about Bradley. My heart began to pound. He had early signs of a genetic kidney condition. something your parents were both carriers for. The doctors told them there was a chance, a significant chance, he'd need a kidney later in life. I set down my teacup with shaking hands. Your mother wanted to terminate the pregnancy. Your father convinced her to keep it. Helen's eyes were sad. They saw you as an insurance policy, Serena. A backup in case Bradley ever needed spare parts. The room spun. That's why they always treated you like an afterthought. Because to them, you weren't a daughter. You were a contingency plan. I couldn't breathe. All those years of paying for everything, I whispered, they were just maintaining the asset? Helen nodded slowly. I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner. I flew home in a daze. For 2 days, I processed what Aunt Helen had told me. The calculations, the cruelty, the complete lack of love beneath every interaction I'd ever had with my parents. Then I did something unexpected. I called Bradley. Serena? He sounded surprised. Mom said you weren't interested in helping. That's not what I said. I want to talk to you directly. Can we meet? We met at a coffee shop near his apartment. He looked thinner, paler than I remembered. The illness was visible. I'm scared, he admitted. The arrogance I remembered from childhood was gone. I might die, Serena. I know. Will you help me? Will you get tested? I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in years. First, I need you to tell me the truth. Did you know? Know what? Why Mom and Dad kept me? Why I was born at all? His face went pale, and I had my answer. You knew, I said flatly. All these years, you knew I was just the spare parts baby. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Bradley? Explain it to me. He couldn't meet my eyes. They told me when I was 12, when my kidneys first started showing problems. His voice was barely audible. They said I should be nice to you, keep you close, because someday I might need you. I stood up. And the money? All those years of payments? I thought you owed us, for letting you exist at all. The words hit me like ice water, letting me exist. I didn't mean, I'm getting tested, I said, but not for you, for Rosie, so she knows her mother isn't the kind of person who lets someone die out of revenge. I walked away before he could respond. The testing took 2 weeks. I was a match. But before I agreed to anything, I demanded a family meeting. My parents, Bradley, and me, in one room, with a hospital social worker present. They thought it was to discuss logistics. It wasn't. We sat in a small conference room at the transplant center. My parents looked uncomfortable. Bradley looked terrified. The social worker, a kind woman named Patricia, opened the meeting. Before we proceed with consent, the donor has some things she'd like to discuss. I pulled out a folder. Inside were bank statements, text messages, and a letter from Aunt Helen. Before I give my kidney to my brother, I said calmly, I want this family to acknowledge the truth. All of it. My mother's face tightened. Serena, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I slid the first page across the table. $187,000. That's what I've given this family over 6 years. Every payment documented. My father scoffed. Families help each other. That's what you're supposed to do. Help is reciprocal. I slid another page. This is a timeline of every birthday, graduation, and milestone you missed for me. Every event you prioritized Bradley over basic acknowledgement of my existence. Bradley shifted in his seat. And this? I pulled out Aunt Helen's letter. This is a written account of why I was born at all. Not because I was wanted, but because I was useful. The room went silent. Patricia looked at the letter, then at my parents. Is this true? My mother burst into tears. It wasn't like that. We loved her. Bradley was so sick, and we were scared. So you kept me as insurance. I kept my voice steady. And when you didn't need the policy, you forgot I existed. Until now. My father stood up. This is ridiculous. You're holding your brother's life hostage over hurt feelings? I'm not holding anything hostage. I looked at him directly. I'm going to donate my kidney, but I'm doing it on my terms. And my terms include acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of what? That you used me. That you never loved me the way you loved Bradley. That I spent my entire life trying to earn something that should have been given freely. The silence stretched. Finally, Bradley spoke. His voice cracked. She's right. Everyone turned to him. We treated her like she didn't matter. I treated her like she didn't matter. Tears streamed down his face. I'm sitting here asking her to save my life, and I can't even remember the last time I asked how she was doing. He looked at me. I'm sorry, Serena. I'm so sorry. For a moment, nobody moved. Then my mother began sobbing. Real sobs, not the performance I'd seen so many times before. I was so scared of losing Bradley, she whispered. I was so scared that I forgot. I forgot you were my daughter too. My father sat back down heavily. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. I don't know how to fix this, he said quietly. You start, I said, by telling the truth. And then you spend the rest of your lives proving it wasn't just words. 3 weeks later, I lay in a hospital bed, preparing to give my brother half of my only pair of kidneys. David held my hand. Rosie had made me a card with a crayon drawing of Mommy being brave. My parents came to see me before the surgery. For the first time in memory, they came to see me. We're going to do better, my mother said. Her eyes were red from crying. I know we can't undo the past, but we want to try. Actions, I said, not words. I've had enough words. She nodded. My father cleared his throat. I opened a savings account for Rosie's education. It's not much yet, but he trailed off. It's a start. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. The surgery went well. Both of us recovered without complications. But the real recovery, the family recovery, that took much longer. It's been 1 year since the transplant. Bradley is healthy. He sends Rosie birthday presents and actually remembers her name. We're not close, but we're cordial. That's more than we've ever had. My parents are trying. They call every week. They flew out for Rosie's birthday. My mother cried when she saw how big she'd gotten. We missed so much, she said. Yes, I agreed. You did. I'm not going to pretend everything is fixed. The scars of 30 years don't heal in 12 months. But I set boundaries. Clear, firm boundaries. No more money without genuine need and genuine gratitude. No more being the backup option. No more accepting treatment that makes me feel like a mistake. And the strangest thing happened. When I stopped trying to earn their love, they finally started trying to give it. I don't know if it will last. I don't know if he'll slip back into old patterns. But I know this. I'm not the backup child anymore. I'm not the accident. I'm not the spare parts. I'm Serena, mother, nurse, wife. A woman who gave part of herself to save someone who'd never valued her, not because she owed him, but because she chose to. And that choice, made freely, was worth more than 30 years of trying to buy love that should have been given all along. If you've made it this far, I want to leave you with something. For 30 years, I believed I was a burden, that I had to earn my place at the table, that if I just gave enough, money, time, organs, maybe they'd finally see me as worthy. I was wrong. You cannot buy love. You cannot earn acceptance from people who have already decided you're less than. But you can choose yourself. You can set boundaries without being cruel. You can give without being a doormat. You can love from a distance when closeness would destroy you. And you can walk away from a table where you were never truly welcome. and build your own. If this story resonated with you, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the backup child, the invisible one, the ATM that was never thanked? Drop a comment and share your story. You're not alone. And if you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe and hit that bell. Your support helps me keep creating. Remember, you are not a burden. You are not a backup plan. You are someone worth loving, exactly as you are. See you in the next one.